Christopher. Welcome back to Strasbourg.
Yeah, thanks for having me back.
Yeah, so I'm gonna bring back some good memories, I guess. Your first film, Creep, it was given a 5-star review from Le Cahier du Cinéma.
Yeah.
That was a great beginning.
Yeah.
So now, do you feel like French critics and French audience get your sensibility, especially, or they get your cinema?
I mean, I've always felt a very, warm kind of sensibility here. That review was, I didn't even know about that review until much later, unfortunately, which is, it's amazing. I want to get a copy of it, actually.
You don't?
No, because obviously growing up doing film school, Cahier de Cinema, Jean-Luc Godard, the sort of cinema, Truffaut, so it was great. But I think this has been true for me from the start. I mean, Creep did really well in France, very well, and Severance did well. So I think I was saying to somebody yesterday about the way French cinema has changed from a period around about the time when I started making films, where the cliche of a French film was this kind of intellectual French movie set in Paris about philosophy student falls in love with girl, kind of. That was the kind of what you would call the cliche, and there was a real concerted effort to make genre movies, and not just that, but now you have lots of genre movies, which France are really considered to be, at least for us, in the sort of top echelons of, and then movies like Bruno Dumont, movies like A Prophet. The French cinema is really back in, I think in a good place. I don't know how you guys see it, but
quite the same. We're still a bit frustrated because we also have the philosopher students fall in love. We still do have these movies also.
But I love those movies. I don't have a problem with these. What's the film? Ma Vie Sexuelle that introduced me to Marion Cotillard was in there. Yeah. So I'm, as the little cute girlfriend. So I have no problem with those films as well.
Yeah. We kind of feel lucky because we often welcome new directors for the first or second feature films, and you're an experienced director. It's your sixth feature film.
How did that happen?
Yeah,
I know.
So
suddenly I'm the old director.
Suddenly, yes. Just since Creep in 2004, did you see an evolution in the industry for genre films, especially?
Yeah, I think across the board. I think from when I started, horror movies, if we just call them horror movies, were always considered the second tier. It was kind of like there was pornography, horror, and then real films.
Okay.
And I don't think that's the case now. It's certainly the case with the market, because these are the, horror movies are the films that almost can guarantee, if you make a good one, that it will have a wide release. Whereas you can make a good film that's a smaller, more kind of individual movie that's not a clear genre movie, and it will, even though it could be a great film, it will struggle to find its place in cinema. So I think things are improving. That's not to say the films are improving. I think a lot of horror movies, certainly that you see coming out of Hollywood, a lot of them are diabolical. They're just absolutely terrible, I think there's very little imagination, and when they do get something right, everyone is very grateful. Like the film Don't Breathe is a lot of fun. I don't know if you've seen this movie. Very simple premise. So it doesn't take a lot of imagination just to have a bit of courage, and I think hopefully less sequels, less remakes, more, original material.
Let's hope so. And let's come to Detour. If I say Detour is a film noir without some of the aesthetics,
that's right. Yeah.
Do you agree with the statement?
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of, I don't want to say neo noir. It's certainly got a film noir sensibility. The idea of doomed characters in a kind of hopeless situation with love and with kind of danger and murder, and it's got all those tropes. But I think it has we try to give that super wide screen. I think the longest lens we use is 25mm. I just liked the idea of these characters trapped in this wilderness. Like one story is in this widescreen house and the other one's in this wilderness, and one, I was trying to show, I guess, with the film, two sides of a character, if you like. By fracturing the story as we do structurally, it shows that the character has is carrying his actions with him forever. And to try and show that when you do something wrong in your life, or you go right and you should have gone left, that decision, that point in your life will always haunt you.
Talking about characters, and right now I'm talking to the screenwriter. In film noir, characters are often older, because I think we kind of need to feel some kind of weight on them, the weight of life, and that they've been through things. And your main character, Teixeira, is really young.
Yeah, it's the film comes from, for me, it's twofold, the answer to this. It comes from my love of the Fritz Lang movie, The Woman in the Window, which was Edward G. Robinson plays a teacher who makes these series of wrong turns, eventually ends up murdering the boyfriend of a woman he meets in the street. And his guilt is, like you say, is a mature guilt. It's it's a man who understands what he's lost. This is the kind of reverse of that. This is a guy who has that idealism of youth, which I think is interesting. And I think it wasn't the plan when I started to make it a film with a lead character who's kind of, I guess, 19. But I realised the way I'd written the character, this sense of juvenile injustice that he sees, where he believes his mother may have been wronged while she was in a coma. That even if he was having an affair, the dad, he doesn't deserve to die. And I think that kind of feeling, a passionate feeling with high emotions, I think weirdly suits a younger lead character. So I think it probably works better, this story, having him young, than it would have if I would have cast him older, because I think when you're older you have a more circumspect opinion on infidelity, and you slightly kind of, it's not so black and white.
The morals not the same.
It's not the same as when you're young. You have these highfalutin kind of expectations.
Exactly. And you were just talking about Fritz Lang, and as we talked about film noir, you told me Detour was like your love letter as an English director to America. Did you have some references in mind? I guess you had, and were they more like Lost Highway or The Big Sleep? Yeah,
it's interesting. Looking at the kind of the way it's become. I mean, like the sprinkler going across the garden by the pool. I didn't realise until I really, because I said to my photographer, I said, I think it would be really nice to really show this beautiful landscape and go really wide. But we just made a film together in England, which is very hard to go super wide. You've always got, you can't dress everything, and suddenly we're in this desert. So, and I didn't realise until I put those lenses on just quite how, bizarrely beautiful everything was. The world looked, it's very Terrence Malick. We spoke a lot about creating that kind of Terrence Malick super widescreen. We'd just seen Tree of Life, and we were looking at Knight of Cups, that idea of driving behind a car and the whole world's going behind. And then when I started to assemble it, you realise that it has a very David Lynch feel, but that wasn't really our kind of goal, but it certainly has echoes of Lynch. We were more just obsessed with trying to bend the world a little bit and give it that kind of distorted widescreen feel, which I felt would be good for the character's psychology. So, yeah. In terms of references for the film, when we have Detour in the film, I think that the main reference, the starting point for this was Woman in the Window for me.
And you were just talking about Tree of Life, which was, I think, one of the first movies of your main actor.
It's crazy.
Teixeira.
No, it's crazy.
And did you see him in the movie and had the idea to cast him?
Well, so I first saw I saw Tree of Life. I didn't think of Ty from seeing Tree of Life. Ty was one of the smaller roles in that film. He was just one of the brothers of the three brothers. I first saw Ty in the film Joe, which was with Nicolas Cage, and I just could not believe that he wasn't a real feral kid from. I couldn't believe he was an actor. And then I thought, what's he done, this kid? Oh my God, he was in Tree of Life. And then we look, and he's in Mud as well. And then you suddenly realise that this, he's done a film with John Travolta. And this kid's kind of first 3 or 4 movies have been with either A-list directors or A-list actors or both, all great directors. and I just said, should we try and get this kid? Because I like the fact he's a Texan. I like the fact he's got... And he loved the script. I mean, he read it straight away. We got on the phone, and he's just got an old soul, a wonderful old soul, where you can't pretend to be like he is. You can't act it. He'll walk in a room, and he's not walking around with like Mr. Confident. He's just a normal kid. But he understands that if his note is, you go in and you find your mum dead on the floor, he will make a choice of how he's going to do that, which is just instinctively good and instinctively interesting. You can't kind of create that. It's not, you can't be taught it. He is a natural. So yeah, now he's the lead in the new Steven Spielberg film. So it's, I felt very, lucky, but I feel that way about all the cast. I think the cast are incredible. Emery Cohen as Johnny and Bel Powley. Everyone keeps saying you got very lucky with that cast. Bel Powley had just broke through in Diary of a Teenage Girl, and Emery Cohen, of course, had done Place Beyond the Pines as Bradley Cooper's son, and then he was brilliant in Brooklyn. But likewise, they're all becoming big stars now. But obviously, when we made the film, our investors took a real gamble because they hadn't had their breakthrough movies yet. And indeed, now, if you only film geeks will know who they are. I think now. Now, yeah. But in a year's time, a bit like with Eddie Redmayne in Black Death, you made a film with Eddie Redmayne. How did you get Eddie Redmayne? I said, well, Eddie Redmayne wasn't Eddie Redmayne when I cast him. He was a guy just trying to get a job.
You're gonna hear the same things about
100%.
2 or 3 years.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. The Fantastic Film Festivals really dig your work. You're often invited, even now, for a non-fantastic film.
No, I know, I'm very honoured. I mean, I really felt that this morning when I was getting up, how lucky. I'm really grateful, because we're grateful in the sense that it just means a lot for them to see that there are real echoes for this type of festival. And indeed, there were gorier elements, if not the gore is a thing, there were elements of this film that, there was a scene when he couldn't get the body in the back of the car, and we actually shot him sawing the leg off. Okay. But it just became a little too... didn't feel right in the tone of the film, which had this kind of more lyrical thing. It just started to become a slasher, I think.
But you wrote that scene, you shot it?
We shot it, yeah, we shot it. Yeah, we shot it.
A strong scene, like in Goodfellas.
He can't get the leg in, so there's a comedy scene where he can't get the leg in, then he tries to saw the leg off, and then he's got the leg in his hat, and it just what it does for his character is there's one thing killing somebody, there's another thing destroying the body. It's kind of... You're talking suddenly you're going to be in a mental home for the rest of your life versus a crime of passion. And we didn't want to undo him so much that he is... Because there's a line in the script where the girl, Cherry, says, well, why don't you just call a lawyer? He could have just called a lawyer and he probably would have been all right, but he would have still got 2 years in prison or something. He would have... And I think when you are up against that, you make the wrong choice. And eventually you try to undo your choice. So, interestingly, we end on a beach. So, the same as the film last night.
Exactly. So, when we look at what you've done till now, you've done a survival movie, a monster movie, Creep, what I would call a fantastic melodrama triangle, and also a medieval adventure film. I know you don't want to do twice the same film. But if you had the opportunity to go back to one of this genre, do you think you can go deeper in it? Which one?
100% Black Death, 100%. I mean, when I got the script for Black Death, it just said, the year of our Lord 1348, and literally, I'm in. It was, I was just like, oh God, I hope this is good, because I really want to do this film, and it was, and I love. Especially today with these crazy lunatics living in the 12th century, I think it's the more you push the idea of religion and versus science and versus truth versus fiction, the more the parallels work. I mean, that film, from the get-go, I said, here's a story about a young monk who loves God and loves this girl, and he wants to have both, and he can't understand why he can't be devout to God and still have a girl. And then he goes on this journey and becomes radicalized, and at the end he is toxic. But it could be a story set today of someone who's frustrated with the rules of faith. And I think that I'd love to revisit that. You know, whether in a different period, maybe. Yeah, I'm going to.
Okay.
I'm going to do it because I love those kind of Andrei Rublev world. Yeah, knights on horses, burning people. Not one witch was ever a witch. Not one. They killed thousands. You know, and I think Witchfinders and that whole world is interesting, but it's got to be done real. There's no point making it fantastic, I don't think.
Exactly. There are lots of stories to tell.
Oh my god.
Experience.
But you see these, you know, again, the Hollywood version is always the you know, it's a demon, and it should just be a girl. You know, she's just being burned. I read this amazing, keep going. But I read this amazing thing which I want to do, which is about this monk who. This is a story I'm really interested in making. Could be an Eddie Redmayne. And it's the true story of I can't remember his name. It's something Bruno. He was an Italian, and he worked out that we go round the sun doesn't go round us. He'd worked it out using before Galileo's telescope, and he's burnt for it. He's burnt by the church for heresy. So I'd like to sort of maybe do something about that.
Maybe the next one.
Maybe.
Okay.
Cool.
So, thanks a lot.
Oh, thank you. That's woke me up. That's perfect.